This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ, every year we do a case about a haunting around Halloween. The story I'm telling you today is not just about a haunted house really close to where we live right now, but it's also about one of the most famous murders in American history. This is the case of the haunted Dr. Mudd farmhouse. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband, Russ, true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Russ, a.k.a. Spinal, a.k.a. the Profiler Extraordinaire, a.k.a. D's.
Oh, goodness. And I'm Jess, a.k.a. Jess got a cold.
Yeah, your voice was a little raspy when you woke up. You know, you sound a little like Jadakiss. I can't believe you did that. You're about to catch an asthma attack.
Definitely. You can't call me Wheezy anymore. You got to call me something else.
Top 5 dead or alive.
Yeah, I got a cold. So bear with my voice this week, folks. So we're back for another week. And we are coming live again from the bed.
I need to speak to my agent.
Russ is not feeling the bed.
Does anyone want to be my agent? Because I have 3. So I'm sitting on the bed with my legs spread, pause. And I'm using my crotch to hold up 3 drinks. I have 2 cans and an old fashioned.
He does have an old fashioned. I did make him one because after last week's story, go check it out if you haven't yet. It was called Another Morning's Morning. It's set in the Prohibition era. We got back on our old-fashioned kick, and we've been drinking a lot of old-fashions lately. And we're watching Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, but have I ever been off my old-fashioned kick?
No, but I feel like since the accident, you haven't really been drinking them that much. But now we are, because we talked about it so much last week.
So, I wanted to bring up R.I.P.
Oh.
to Bobby.
Bobby who?
Was the oldest dog in the world.
The oldest dog.
How old do you think? It died in Portugal. How old do you think Bobby was?
20.
Bobby died at the age of 31.
A dog lived that long?
I love it. Because
that's crazy.
We don't deserve dogs.
We don't. Dogs are literally a gift to all humans.
And if my dogs could live 31,
That's so sweet. Poor Bobby.
I'd give up 10 years of my life if they could live to 31.
Oh, I mean, Biggie Smalls, he's about to hit 13 coming up this year. And that's old for a bulldog.
He is the illest.
He is. Lucy's going on 11. It's crazy. We got 2 old dogs in this house. Well, 3 old dogs in this house.
You sure are. Old hen.
Old hen. Okay. We've decided that even though we covered the case 2 years ago, we covered the Arnie Johnson case, The Devil Made Me Do It. We did it around Halloween 2021. I told you that story about the guy who said that he was possessed by the devil and he committed murder. Well, they came out with a documentary on Netflix. So we decided, because Russ doesn't remember anything about anything, he pretty much doesn't remember any story I ever tell him. We are going to watch that documentary and rate and review it for Patreon for October. So we're going to be doing that this weekend.
Wait. All right. I might remember this one.
Oh, yeah?
Is that the one that the dude shot them in the head with the shotgun?
No. That was Amityville Horror.
Damn.
Yeah, this one's different. This is one where he claimed to have been possessed by the devil, and they used it actually in court as like trying to get him off.
This is crazy because I'm going to be watching this and learning it for the first time again.
I know. And we did it 2 years ago. So if you're interested in hearing that episode, scroll all the way back to October of 2021 and it's there.
Listen,
maybe you should listen to it.
I probably should. And I probably have the same commentary, but what I could tell you is I don't believe none of it.
I know. You don't believe anything paranormal, which is very annoying.
You believe everything. Have you ever seen someone float?
No, but
so how do you believe anything?
I do believe in ghosts. All right, well, before we get into this week's case, you have to do your jobs.
Oh, shit, I forgot review of the week.
Yeah, you got to do review of the week and the patron shout-outs. So we did add some Patreons on the list who we forgot last week.
So this week's Patreons are Angela, Julia, Viper Girl, Kelsey, Chloe, Erin, Danielle, Aisha, Erica, Becky, Marcy, Abigail, Velin. That's a lot.
Out of breath?
Yeah. I'll catch an asthma attack. Christy, Corinda, Gilligig, Farah, Daria, Crystal, Sarah, Alyssa, Danielle, Rhonda, Andrew, a.k.a. Spinal, a.k.a. Chicken Parm, and Renee that I met on my way back from John Jay. So, shout out to you guys. I got this beer. Hopefully I don't spill it. I'm opening one hand on the damn couch.
Cheers.
On the bed.
Cheers to you guys.
Take a sip.
So like I said, check out Patreon. We're going to record this weekend the Netflix documentary about the Devil Made Me Do It case. I think it's called Devil on Trial. We're going to watch and review it this weekend.
So this week's review of the week is from Shezgez. Funny couple, 5 stars. So obviously I don't know why I say 5 stars. They're always 5 stars if I read them. There's a few 4 stars. They gave us good ass reviews.
With 4 stars?
Dumbasses, go fix it. Fix your phone. Maybe that part of their phone, the touchscreen wasn't working. I don't know. If you're still listening, fix that. And so this one says, I like this show because Jess tells the story and Russ interjects with off-the-cuff comments that are funny. Russ doesn't sound scripted at all, and it truly seems as though he has no idea what the story is ahead of time. The dynamic between Jess and Russ reminds me of how my husband and I banter with each other. Jess keeps the story on track so they don't go off on tangents that have nothing to do with the story. Overall, quite entertaining.
Oh, good. You really have no idea what I'm going to tell you. I keep it a secret from him.
It's true, because even if like she wanted to tell me, I'd be like, please don't bother me with this right now. I'm like watching TV or playing games.
No, I enjoy you not knowing ahead of time. It's actually fun for me to like keep it a secret until the moment we record. I am excited about this week's story. So everyone knows, if they've listened to us for a while now, that one of the things we never see eye to eye on is the existence of ghosts or anything paranormal. As I've said before, I have been literally begging ghosts to haunt you for years.
I wish.
Just so that you will finally see that it's true. Ghosts do exist, and spirits walk among us.
How do you know?
I know.
How?
There's just too much evidence. There's too much evidence out there. It has to be true.
You never seen someone float.
So many people have had paranormal experiences. It just has to be true. Every year we do a spooky story around Halloween. Last year we did Madame Laurie's mansion in New Orleans.
She was the torturer.
Yes, which to this day is still one of my absolute favorite episodes out of our entire feed that I researched, because I learned so much and I'm such a history buff that I was totally in my glory.
What's the episode called? You remember?
No, not off the top of my head.
How do you spell Lalaurie?
Lalaurie. I don't know. They'll find it. Just go back to Halloween time this year, 2022. I mean, last year, 2022.
I was trying to help the folks out.
They'll figure it out. They just have to scroll back to 2022 in October and they'll see it. This year is actually similar because it has a lot to do with a huge historical event. And I'm going to tell you about a haunted place that is not far from where we sit right now. I'm going to try really hard not to totally nerd out with this one because I don't want to go too deep. I fell down a lot of rabbit holes, but I had so much fun researching this one and I learned so much. I went back and forth about which haunting I wanted to tell you about in Maryland because Maryland actually has a lot of haunted places. It has a lot of history. It was one of the original 13 colonies, and its settlers showed up on March 24th, 1634. So it's a pretty damn old state with lots of old buildings, structures, and very eerie places.
Baltimore has a lot of pride.
Baltimore does have a lot of pride. It's also kind of a strange place where like northern and southern culture collides.
And the people that live here are a little weird. You know, this is where you from, you weird.
I'm weird, yeah. That's fine. I don't mind being weird.
They pronounce things ooh.
Yeah, we say long O's.
Yeah.
So.
Listen, you kind of said it, but you dragged it out. But
So, this case is going to take us way back, Russ. Put on your black and white TV brain, because it's another oldie. We are going way back to the end of the Civil War. Okay? First, I'm going to give you a pop quiz. You told me that you suck at trivia, so let's see how bad you actually are at it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I kind of know a lot of stuff.
Well, let's see. I want to see what you know about the Civil War.
Nothing.
I got a few questions. Are you ready?
The redcoats are coming.
It's not the Civil War.
Don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes.
Ready? How long was the Civil War?
7 years.
Wrong. 4 years.
I knew it.
What year did the Civil War end?
1492.
Russ, no, seriously. Do you know how...
If I had to guess...
What year did the Civil War
end?
end?
In the 1800s?
Yes.
But I don't know when. 1892.
1865.
Okay.
Who was the president at the time?
Lincoln.
Very good.
I cannot tell a lie.
Very good. The Civil War was between the North and the South, the Union and the Confederate. Which was which?
The Union was North. The Confederate was South.
Good. Was Maryland a Union or a Confederate state?
It was a Union state, but it's on the Mason-Dixon line.
Oh, you're a smarty pants over here. So it's kind of a trick question. It was a slave-owning state, but they never left the Union. So they were called a border state because they were on the Mason-Dixon line. So about 80,000 Marylanders served in the Union and about 20,000 Marylanders served in the Confederacy.
That's crazy. So is this the line where they fought? Like, did they fight in Maryland?
There were fights. There were battles in Maryland. There's battles in Virginia, Gettysburg, Virginia. You know, the Gettysburg Address, like that. That's a huge site.
I heard of it.
Well, we could go there and visit if you'd like.
I'm good.
How did Abraham Lincoln die?
He was killed in a theater.
Very good. You know a lot more than I thought you would.
As I like to say, theater. It's more fun to say it that way. I should have said he was killed in a theater.
Who killed him?
Dees.
No. Come on.
No, I forgot his name. Robert E. Lee.
No. Robert E. Lee was a Confederate general. He was a general in the Confederate Army, but
he wanted to kill him.
Well, I mean, he was a Confederate guy, but John Wilkes Booth killed Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, I never would have got that.
So the Civil War was a defining chapter in American history. It was rooted in deep-seated tensions over the issue of slavery. Abraham Lincoln became president in 1860, and this caused 11 states, all in the South, to break away from the Union and form the Confederacy. So it was pretty much like, the country was divided, North and South.
That's crazy that people have... I wonder, there's more to it I've heard than about slaves. Like, what other issues were they fighting for?
No, there isn't actually. That's something that they used to teach in schools because they wanted it to be a little bit less controversial.
Oh, shit.
But that's not true. The entire purpose of, and you can look it up, I mean, I researched it for the last 3 days. The entire purpose of the Civil War, when you really get down to it, was the issue of slavery.
I can't believe people wanted to own people.
It's crazy.
Like, I want people to do a lot of stuff for me, but I don't want to own them.
Exactly.
So you just get married.
Shut up.
Like, I don't do no laundry.
You're annoying.
My clothes are clean, though.
Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which pretty much shifted the entire focus of the war to making abolishing slavery the central goal of the Union Army. Lincoln was adored by so many Americans, but Honest Abe also had a lot of enemies. After John Wilkes Booth shot President Lincoln, he went on the run and a 12-day manhunt ensued. His first stop was the home of a farmer and community doctor in southern Maryland named Dr. Samuel Mudd. The events that unfolded that night are shaky, with Dr. Mudd's story changing many times. Was he an innocent doctor practicing his Hippocratic oath, helping a random injured man who showed up on his doorstep? Or was he in on the entire thing? Was he really one of the conspirators that planned to kill the President of the United States?
Had to get out the mud.
Many believe the Dr. Mudd estate, which is still standing today, preserved with some of the same furniture from 1865, is not only haunted by the doctor himself, but also by the spirit of John Wilkes Booth. I'm going to tell you all about the ghosts that have been inhabiting the house for the last 157 years, and the crime that occurred that fateful night, which many believe may be the reason Dr. Mudd and John Wilkes Booth have been stuck there this whole time, unable to find their final resting place. Are you ready?
Yeah, they ain't no ghosts.
Well, we'll see. The Dr. Mudd house is located in Waldorf, Maryland, which is about an hour south of us. It is open Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays for visits.
This is it. It's a tourist attraction. They make money.
It's still decorated exactly as it was in 1865.
Do you have to pay to get in?
I'm actually not sure about that. Many people have seen and heard unexplainable, crazy things there. Voices of men whispering.
Because if so, I could find a house that I could charge admission to.
I don't think you have to pay to get in, but I have to look it up, to be honest. I'm not positive.
Nobody does nothing for free. Who cleans the house?
So people have seen and heard unexplainable, crazy things there. Voices of men whispering. Full-on apparitions. One lady has a picture of a man walking down the stairs, and there was no man there.
But then how'd she get a picture?
It's a ghost walking down the stairs. I can show it to you. Paranormal investigators frequent this place and record lots of spooky things. I watched a few of their investigations on YouTube, and it was pretty eerie, the voices that picked up on their recorder. The thing that freaks people out the most, though, is every single morning in the front bedroom where John Wilkes Booth slept when he got to this house after he killed the president, there is an impression in the mattress on one side as if someone had been sleeping there. And every day, the people that run the place have to fix it. Some skeptics say, it's an old mattress, so like it just has a dent in it. But it's there every single morning. They fluff it up, and then it goes away, and then it comes back every single morning. And it looks like a body was laying there.
I want to go there to see that.
Okay. I can show you pictures.
No, I want to go there. I want to watch the imprint go in. I don't believe it.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about you going there then.
I'll sleep in the mattress.
I'm going to tell you the story of Dr. Mudd. Okay?
Got to get out the mud.
It's 4 a.m. on April 15th, 1865. 32-year-old Dr. Samuel Mudd and his wife Sarah are woken up by a frantic knock on the door. When they open it, they see two men. One of them is injured. The injured man says his name is Mr. Tyler, and he may have a broken leg after falling off his horse. Dr. Mudd, being the man of medicine that he is, he follows the Hippocratic oath that he gave.
What's a Hippocratic oath?
The oath that doctors take when they become doctors, and it's to give beneficial treatments according to their abilities, to refrain from causing hurt or harm, and to live an exemplary personal and professional life.
Now, do nurses have that?
We take an oath, but it's not the same.
Because when we're on a plane, if anybody ever said, is there a nurse or a doctor on a plane? I'm like, Jess, you better sit down and shut up.
So there is something called the Good Samaritan law.
Unless someone was really in trouble. But if it's like medium trouble, they'd be all right.
Well, there's something called a Good Samaritan law. And if it's known that you are a nurse or doctor and you don't step in and help, you can be charged.
What if you were sleeping?
I don't know, Russ. I don't know all the details.
I'd be like, I was asleep.
So they get this knock at the door in the middle of the night. He opens the door. He sees this dude who's injured and his leg looks broken. So he lets him in. Okay. He allows the two men in. He sees them to the front bedroom and he sets and splints Mr. Tyler's leg and gives the men food, allows them to sleep in his house until the next day. And then they say they lost their horses. So Dr. Mudd gets a carriage for the men, allows them to take it and leave town the following afternoon. He doesn't ask them any questions. He doesn't want to know where they're going, where they came from, what happened to them. He just does his due diligence and sets them on their way.
But they were in his house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did they know to go to his house?
Good question. We'll address that later.
If someone knocks on my door and I don't know you're coming, I will never open the door. I don't know who. I wouldn't know who it is. It could be you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a key. But It could be like my mom. If someone just knocks, I literally won't get off of the couch. I'm just going to I'm not going to turn down the TV. Whoever's at the door has my phone number. Back then, they
didn't have phones.
They might not have a phone.
Exactly.
And a smoke signal.
So the next morning, Dr. Mudd gets another knock on his door. This time, it's a cavalry, a group of Union soldiers that have come to Dr. Mudd's house to ask a few questions. They're on the hunt for John Wilkes Booth. Dr. Mudd tells the men everything I just told you about Mr. Tyler showing up at 4 a.m. and everything he did for the men yesterday. He's like, look, dude, I'm just here with my wife on my farm, minding my own business, and these guys show up. What was I supposed to do? I'm a doctor. I had to help them. Anyway, what's going on? Why does it matter? The Union soldiers tell Dr. Mudd what happened before the men showed up and who the men actually were. They tell him our president has been assassinated, and these men were the murderers.
Oh, shit.
If this were a movie, the scene would change, and on the screen, you'd see the words 2 days earlier.
And Leonardo DiCaprio will pop out.
President Lincoln and his wife Mary are at the Ford Theater in Washington, D.C. They're sitting in Lincoln's box seat, where he would regularly sit because he was a frequent flyer at the theater. He was there all the time. They're seeing a pretty popular play at the time called Our American Cousin. In walks John Booth, which isn't that weird because John Wilkes Booth was a very famous actor. He was from a family of actors, all famous, who toured the country performing Shakespearean plays. He was also incredibly handsome. Women swooned over him.
I know the feeling.
He was as famous as any well-known actor is today, like full-on celebrity, with posters of him all over and him posing for magazines and newspapers. But Booth was also a Confederate sympathizer. He grew up in Bel Air, Maryland, the youngest of 10 children, on a plantation with his family and their slaves. He hated abolitionists and saw Abe Lincoln as the ultimate enemy. Booth was pro-slavery.
Bel Air is where the Fresh Prince lived.
Well, Bel Air, Maryland
That's where he went,
is about 40 minutes from here. Not Bel Air, California.
So he was the Fresh Prince of this Bel Air.
I guess he probably was. But his family was slave owners. He was very pro-slavery, aka level 11 piece of shit. I'm bringing that back. So he would do anything to help the Confederacy win. He, along with 6 other conspirators, had been planning to kidnap the president, but Booth decided earlier that day this was no longer a kidnapping. He wanted him dead.
Did they have a Secret Service back then?
Ooh, funny you say that. Can't wait to talk about that part. It's coming.
It probably, if they had Secret Service back then, they didn't have all the technology. It's like you get a couple homies. Like if I need a Secret Service, I think a few good friends that could defend me.
The Secret Service existed, but it didn't guard the president back then. But I'm going to talk about that in a little bit.
Who the fuck would it guard? Who's more important than the president?
Just wait. So Booth walks into the theater and he heads toward the box seats. No one bats an eye because he's famous. He's a celebrity. He belongs with the important people. Little did they know he was carrying a single-shot Derringer revolver in his jacket, and he had a dagger in his belt. He walks right up to Lincoln's box. At the time, like I said, the Secret Service didn't guard the president. They didn't start doing that until 1902. Nowadays, you can't even imagine getting anywhere near the president.
Who were they guarding?
But back then, they were doing other jobs, but they weren't guarding the president.
I guess it was a secret because no one's telling us what they were doing.
I know. But back then, it was no big deal. And even though Abe had gotten tons of death threats around this time, he only had one guy guarding him that night.
And he was tall, so it was like, he'll be all right. He's big.
Well.
Wasn't he tall?
He was. He was very tall. So the guy that was guarding him that night, his name was Officer John Parker.
John Parker was fired that night.
John Parker was a Washington, D.C. cop and a bit of a dope. He had multiple complaints filed against him in the past for being a lazy cop and a drunk who would frequent whorehouses while on duty. After Lincoln got in his seat and was settled, Parker left his post, went outside, got the carriage driver, and the two of them went to the bar next door, the Star Saloon, and threw a few back. He wasn't even there guarding the president.
He had a good job. I know a few guys that...
No, he didn't have a good job. He did a terrible job.
No.
It's because of him that President Lincoln is dead.
That's not true, because he wasn't going to jump in front of a bullet because he's not Neo from the Matrix and no one is that fast. He would have got shot with the president. So he had the right idea. I'm going to go knock a few back.
No. John Wilkes Booth, like I said, had a one-shot Derringer revolver, which has one shot in it. That's it. So he shows up. The guy guarding the president is next door drinking at the bar.
Kind of like some guys that I know that clock into their job and then go drink. Mm-hmm. Good old unions.
Well, it's now 10 p.m. and Booth just walked right into the box seats. He stood behind the president, aimed the revolver at his head, and timed it perfectly. So when the place erupted with laughter over a famously funny line in the play, boom, he pulled the trigger.
That had to be louder than the laughter.
He then jumped from the box onto the stage and yelled, "Sic semper tyrannis," which is the line Brutus yells after killing Julius Caesar in Shakespeare's play. This wasn't just an act of violence. It was a political statement.
This dude was feeling himself.
He had a personal animosity towards the president, seeing him as a tyrant who threatened his way of life. He firmly believed in slavery and the Confederate cause. So by killing the figurehead for the Union, he thought this would spark a resurgence of the Confederate resistance. Booth managed to escape the theater, and that started the 12-day manhunt. At 4 a.m. the following morning, that's when he showed up on Dr. Mudd's doorstep.
See, but this dude is a dumbass. You know why?
Why?
He did all that.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to know all that you did. There's no TV.
No, everyone knew it. It was huge. The president dies, so everyone there is reporting on it.
Yeah, it's huge, but not that huge.
No, it's all, you can look up. I looked up the Library of Congress. You can look up the newspapers from that week, and they all are talking about it.
What if you didn't go to the store that week because you didn't need you didn't need something, so you didn't get a newspaper?
Russ,
There's no TV.
It doesn't matter.
He didn't go viral?
In that day, he did go viral. He was all over the newspapers, but that wasn't his point. His point was to try to get the Confederacy to rise back up and spark a new, resistance against the Union. Abraham Lincoln would be carried out of the theater and across the street to a boarding house.
But how did he get away? He just was able to shoot him, run up to the stage, and then blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then walk off, and so everybody was just flabbergasted?
Yeah, he jumped onto the stage while he yelled that. That's when they think he broke his leg, because he did have a broken leg when he got to Dr. Mudd's house, and then he escaped.
He couldn't escape if he had a broken leg.
He did.
What, he hopped to the mud?
He escaped, and then he went on a 12-day run.
Hopping like a kangaroo the whole time?
No, he had horses and carriages. This is a horse time. Horses and carriages. Just because he had a broken leg, he wasn't running.
How'd he hop on the carriage?
He had friends, Russ. There were 7 conspirators. He was in a group that planned this.
Okay. Doesn't seem very well planned to me.
Well, he got away with it for 12 days, and President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. The first president to be assassinated. So Abraham Lincoln would be carried out of the theater and across the street to a boarding house where he would be visited by doctors who tried to keep him comfortable until he succumbed to his injury the next day.
Wow, he didn't die instantly from a headshot?
He did not. He lived for hours in this boarding house across the street. He didn't even get to a hospital.
And they didn't even have good medicine back then.
No, they just gave him medicine to keep him comfortable, probably like morphine or whatever they had back then. I don't even know if morphine existed back then.
They didn't even have science.
No, not a lot. You guys already know because we have been talking about them for a while now. Via Hemp is by far one of our favorite sponsors we've ever had, okay? We use their products all the time. Maybe you're a little like me. You're a little anxious. You have a hard time settling down. You're kind of wound up a lot. If that's you, Via Hemp products are for you. Check out their website. You will find something that speaks to you. Maybe you're like Russ. You have a hard time sleeping because you have bad nerve pain or chronic pain. Then Via Hemp is for you because their gummies will help you get some quality sleep. Maybe you're looking to have a really good time. Maybe you just really like edibles. You want to laugh. You want to get the munchies. You want to watch a movie and have a really strong belly laugh. Then Via Hemp products are for you, okay? They're literally for everybody. So head over to viahemp.com, promo code wifeofcrime1 to get 15% off your first order. That's VIIAHEMP.com. Wife of Crime #1 for 15% off your first order. Last year, Save More Money was the most popular New Year's resolution in America. Clearly, a lot of us feel like our money is slipping through our fingers. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not the best saver, and I don't know much about investing until I started saving and investing with Acorns. Turns out you don't have to be an expert at all because Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. And I always thought that when people say, ooh, I invest in stocks, that they had a ton of money or something. Well, you don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. You can literally start with $5. And you know you guys are spending that at Starbucks on these fancy lattes. So skip the coffee and invest with Acorns. You don't even need a ton of time. Like, you can just sign up and start investing within 5 minutes. Head over to acorns.com/wifeofcrime or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. That's acorns.com/wifeofcrime. The soldiers are telling Dr. Mudd this, and he's like, well, damn, I had no idea. I never met this guy in my life. Huh, a famous actor. That's crazy. Needless to say, though, some of the soldiers were a little suspicious of Dr. Mudd and his level of involvement. Booth would eventually be captured 12 days later and cornered by the Union cavalry in a barn in Virginia. He refused to surrender, so the soldiers set the barn on fire.
Oh, shit.
And when Booth ran out, they shot him. He also didn't die right away from the gunshot. He was taken into the farmhouse on the property, and the soldiers summoned a doctor. He was begging the soldiers to kill him for hours, but they wouldn't. I think they wanted him to suffer. He finally looked at his hands and said, useless, useless, useless. Those were his last words, and then he died.
Why did he look at his hands and say that?
I don't know.
But he did.
He did kill the president. I don't know why he looked at his hands and said that, but those were his last words.
Maybe he wasn't sure the president was dead. Because
I think by then he would have known, because it was 12 days later, and by then everyone knew the president was dead.
Okay.
So he had to have known. After this, all the conspirators that had planned the assassination went on trial. During the investigation leading to the trial, Dr. Mudd was questioned multiple times. And good old Mudd, his story changed a bit too much. The investigators started really looking. He is. They started really looking into Dr. Mudd, and they found out that Dr. Mudd and John Wilkes Booth actually met previously in November of 1864 at St. Mary's Catholic Church. They also hung out a few more times. And Samuel Mudd is actually the person that introduced John Wilkes Booth to Mary and John Surratt, who was the mastermind behind the conspiracy to kidnap and assassinate the president. So all the Lincoln conspirators are put on trial, including Dr. Mudd. Dr. Mudd is convicted of conspiracy to kill the president, even though he maintains his innocence the whole time. All the other conspirators will hang in public.
Whoa, they hung people back then?
They hung all of them.
Were there multiple ways of execution back then? They did like firing squad and shit?
Maybe, but I think hanging was like the most popular one.
It's probably the cheapest because you can use a rope over and over, but bullets are only a one-time
I mean,
use.
I guess if they're trying to be budget conscious.
Like if you like these guys, like people like shop at Costco, we like to save money.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, public hanging.
Like I can use this rope over and over, but I don't want to have to buy a lot of bullets. True.
I guess if they're really focusing on budgets, then yes, then hanging would be the best option.
Hints, Jess. We are on a budget.
So all the other conspirators will hang in public for this crime. But Dr. Mudd was sentenced to life in prison and hard labor at Fort Jefferson in Florida.
For fixing the broken leg?
Well, they had evidence that he was in on it, that he was part of the conspiracy.
What was the evidence?
That they had met in 1864, that he had helped John Wilkes Booth buy a horse, and that he introduced John Wilkes Booth to Mary Surratt, and Mary Surratt and her son, John Surratt was the mastermind behind the conspiracy to kill the president.
But who gave him that information?
His wife and him. No, he changed his story a bunch of times. So his wife and him both, after talking to lots of people and talking to them. I mean, he changed his story like 4 different times. They put all this evidence together, and that's how they decided.
So this is natural selection. If you're snitching on yourself, then it's a wrap, bro.
So here's the thing.
I was trying to figure out something for you, man.
He did, after a while, like, you know, he keeps changing his story, and he did tell them, okay, yeah, I did meet him, but I didn't know he was going to go do all that. And then he shows up on my doorstep. I didn't know that he was this guy. I only met him once at church. You know, he tried to like play it down.
Mud's a dumbass.
All right, so Mudd is sentenced to life in prison and hard labor at Fort Jefferson in Florida.
I always wondered, when they sentence you to hard labor, what happens if you say, I ain't doing it? They beat you up?
I have no idea. Back then, people were sentenced to hard labor.
They give you like an axe, and you're like in a axe pick, and you're in a quarry, like hitting rocks and shit.
I don't know, or you're doing the chain gang. You know, when you're doing the railroad, they built the railroads.
That's crazy.
Now get this: a few years later, while in prison in Fort Jefferson, the prison gets hit hard by yellow fever. It's spreading like crazy down there, and the prison doctor dies. So your boy, Dr. Mudd, steps up and starts treating the prisoners with yellow fever.
Oh, he rises out of the mud.
Saving a bunch of people's lives. And he even got yellow fever himself, and he survived it. So in 1869, President Johnson decides to pardon Dr. Mudd.
What?
And gives him clemency for his good deeds. He returns to his farm in Maryland. And he offers people in the community free health care and tries to help the community until he dies at the age of 49.
At the old age? Back then, that was old age?
No, I said at the age of 49.
I was wondering if, you know, life expectancy has went way up.
No, I think he just got sick. I don't think he died of old age. Now, he wasn't super popular. Half the people think he is a Lincoln conspirator, so his name really gets dragged through the mud.
Ba-bum-bum.
He dies at age 49 and is buried in St. Mary's Church. To this day, it's a pretty divided thing. Like, if some people believe he was definitely involved in the conspiracy, and some people believe he was just a good dude who was truly innocent, trying to help this injured guy that showed up on his doorstep.
But you know what? It doesn't matter what either one of those two groups believe, because neither one of you were there, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I guess it really doesn't matter.
Oh, I'm just going to randomly believe this guy was buried here, did this, and I'm going to randomly believe this. Neither one of you were there.
Yeah, but a lot of it is his family. The Mudd family believes
but they weren't there either.
That he, you know, they don't want his legacy going down as like this horrible person.
They don't want him being dragged through the mud.
Yeah, exactly. So now back to the haunting.
This is a mud pie.
Like I said, I watched a ton of footage online of paranormal investigators at this house. There was some really cool footage. They recorded an argument between a woman and a man talking about the death of Abe Lincoln.
Oh my God.
I can show you the footage.
Yeah, but you know what?
You're going to say it's the internet. People can do anything on the internet.
That's why it's hard to believe. Any videos, any audio, it's so hard. But if I found a haunting, it'd be real. But then no one would believe me.
Yeah, people won't believe you. A woman took a photo of a staircase, like I said earlier, and you can see the man coming down the stairs. Turns out it was Dr. Mudd's coachman. He lived and died in the attic of the house. He was one of Dr. Mudd's slaves. So when you zoom in on the picture, you can clearly see that he's an African-American man, and he's dressed in like 1800s clothing. And he looks just like Dr. Mudd's coachman.
Where do you find these pictures?
Online. I will post them. I will show them to you. But the impression in the bed is so crazy to me because it happens every day. And it has to constantly be fixed by the people that work there.
I'm curious if they change the mattress. If it would still happen when they change the mattress, then it's official. You gotta like...
But that's the mattress John Wilkes Booth slept on, so maybe his spirit is connected to it.
But not to the house, but to the mattress?
Yeah, because your spirits can connect themselves to objects.
I'm curious, they had mattresses back then?
Yeah. Yes, what do you think they slept on back then? They had beds back then.
I don't know, but how would you make... Did they have springs?
I don't know if they were spring mattresses or if they were like stuffed with something. I'm sure they were probably stuffed.
Homies might be still in that mattress. What they stuff them with?
I don't know. know. You have to look it up. Maybe feathers. Yeah, you got to look it up.
I don't know, probably like sheep's wool or something.
Maybe, but it's the same mattress. So
put a Sleep Number mattress and see what'll happen.
The crazy part about it is when you look at the picture, it's only one side that indents in.
Is that the side where he slept or his wife?
Yeah, no. His wife wasn't there. We're talking about John Wilkes Booth. He was the only one in the bed. He laid there with his broken leg for 15 hours.
It might not be. It's definitely not a twin, because on a twin, there's only one side.
No, it's not a twin. It looks like a double bed.
Yeah, there has to at least be a queen, so at least a full, so there's two sides.
Yeah, definitely. So now, do you believe Dr. Mudd was in on the crime, or do you believe he was innocent?
How do I know?
I'm curious what you think. You're the profiler. You're supposed to be able to profile these things. Do you think he was in on it?
I can't say.
I do. 100%.
Wait,
how would John Wilkes Booth know to even go to this random farmhouse and be able to get his leg fixed there? How would he know that a doctor was living there? He just shows up to a random farmhouse at 4 a.m. and says, "Oh, I fell off my horse." No.
That's true, but who is documenting that he went there at 4 a.m?
Dr. Mudd.
The Mudd.
He said he told the Union soldiers that the guy showed up at 4 a.m. How would he know to go to this random farmhouse in the middle of the night?
In a carriage.
He had to have known him ahead of time. He had to have known him and had to have known his doctor. And Dr. Mudd had to have known John Wilkes Booth. He was a famous actor. Super, super famous celebrity. Now, another question. Would you spend the night in the Mudd house?
Easily.
You would?
Easily. As long as my phone is fully charged, so I could have something to do, or you give me my Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I just need something to do. I'll spend the night in any haunted house in America.
Okay.
Abandoned or not, just give me power. And as long as I'm not cold, I need climate control.
Okay.
As long as the climate is controlled,
uh-huh,
and I have a little entertainment, I'll spend the night in any haunted house in America.
You're not scared at all?
Nothing. I'll be alone.
You would completely alone spend the night in any haunted house in America?
As long as it's climate controlled.
Even now?
I don't want to be cold.
Even now that you can't run out of there?
Bro, I'll be in there with a flat tire. I ain't scared of that.
You're going to make me cough.
You get the asthma laugh. we make fun of Chicken Palm Lou. He got the asthma laugh.
You'd sit in there with a flat tire.
In
your wheelchair.
You can let go of that shit, because my arms are still good. I'll be swinging. But I ain't scared.
I gotta find a haunted place to just
you can
throw
leave
you
me
in
there, put cameras all around me, give me my Steam Deck.
What about leave you in there out of your chair?
No, on the floor? That's whack.
On a couch or something.
Oh, on the couch, that's cool, but not on the floor.
No, on the couch or something, just sitting there.
Yeah, but climate control. I don't want to be cold. Okay. I don't want to be wet.
Okay.
I'm good.
Maybe I can call the people who run the Samuel Mudd house.
That'll be so easy.
And see if I can drop you off.
I'll probably end up taking a nap.
I'll drop you off next Saturday. Pick you up Sunday. You can film the whole thing on your phone. We'll see what happens.
Do they have Wi-Fi in there? If I could play Call of Duty or something.
All right.
Listen, give me a little Wi-Fi and a little handheld device.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
All right. Well, I love doing this one because I love history. And I found this so fascinating. There were so many details about the Lincoln assassination that I had no idea. I knew about John Wilkes Booth, but I didn't realize how big of an actor he was. I didn't realize how big of a Confederate sympathizer he was. I didn't know the extent of all of it, that him and his family owned all these slaves, and he kind of I don't know, it's just so crazy. I didn't know that Lincoln didn't automatically die from his injuries.
Me neither.
So Officer Parker, by the way, the officer that was supposed to be guarding him, a year later, he doesn't lose his job. He still works for the White House.
Because he must have had a union job.
A year later, Lincoln's wife, Mary, confronts him. She literally sees him in the White House. She goes up to him and she's like, "It's your fault that my husband is dead."
What was she still doing in the White House if her husband doesn't live there?
I don't know, but there are documented reports that she went off on this dude. She was like, "It's your fault that my husband is dead. I can't believe that you would go to the bar next door and allow this guy to come in and shoot my husband. You are just as guilty." And he apologized to her. He said sorry. He was like, "It was poor judgment. I honestly thought that everyone loved Abe Lincoln, and I never would have thought anybody would want to kill him because everyone loved him. He had so many people that loved him." He was like, "It was my fault. Poor judgment on my part. I shouldn't have done that." But he didn't lose his job. How crazy is that?
Job security.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things about like zombie Abe Lincoln and vampire Abe Lincoln. There's like books.
Yeah.
I was working with a guy that was telling me like one of them was really good, but
Oh, really?
yeah, I dismissed him because I just dismiss everyone.
Why'd you dismiss it?
Because I'm not going to read a book someone tells me to read. I don't know why. But I also don't read. I do audiobooks. I'll do some audiobooks.
Maybe you should do a zombie Abe Lincoln audiobook. It is Halloween.
Maybe. I do need a good audiobook. If anyone needs a good audiobook, check out Project Hail Mary. That was a really good audiobook. Don't read it. You definitely have to audiobook it. But it's like on some alien stuff, but it's really good. If you do that, hit me up when you're done and let me know how you liked it. And if you didn't like it, don't hit me up.
All right, everybody. Well, happy Halloween. It's this week. I love Halloween. Right now, I'm currently binging Sabrina the Teenage Witch again on Netflix.
I know that girl.
And
was cool.
We're also watching Boardwalk Empire. 2 shows.
No, me and Sabrina the Teenage Witch is cool.
Yeah, I know. You used to drive her around in your previous life. Your old job.
Yeah, but I'm retired now. I'm a professional profiler extraordinaire.
So have a wonderful week. Have a safe Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. We will catch you guys later. If you're interested in hearing our footage of The Devil on Trial, check out Patreon. If you want some cool merch, the Wine and Crime t-shirt is killing them right now during Halloween time.
That is fire.
It's nice and spooky. It's a good buy for this time of year. And we'll catch you later.
And don't forget, #vote for Russ because he is for us. Peace.
All right. Bye.